Bible times, because our culture has changed so much, it doesn't relate as much. And of course, everybody I know is familiar with the pot and the potter, Jeremiah, and but it's just typical. And you really do learn things. If we have an opportunity, if we've got time, when we get over in fiber craft, you'll see flax being woven into linen. And if you know the process, all of a sudden when Revelation talks about the righteousness of the saints as is fine white linen, you all of a sudden, those phrases are pregnant with a lot more meaning than we could understand. Go on and describe, Jenny.
I've centered the clay, now I've got it opened up and beginning, just about ready to start pulling up the walls. That last step that I was doing there was compressing the base of the pot. All clay shrinks quite a bit, and there's a lot of stress involved with the shrinking. If it doesn't have a little extra bit of compaction, compression, it will not be able to withstand the fire, and it will crack.
Yeah, without the pressure, it can't make it through the fire.
Start pulling the walls up. It takes a lot more skill than it might look like sometimes watching an experienced potter. And I had a hard time with this for a long time too, but I noticed it with a lot of students as well. It's difficult to pull it up and keep it straight because you can't see through the wall of the pot. But to accomplish that, you have to keep your fingers exactly opposite each other. So it takes a lot of practice and doing it over and over again until you can learn to feel for your fingers on the other side of the plate.
I understand y'all just read about Augustine and okay, well we think the pot shows that it's synergistic, that there needs to be pressure on the inside and pressure on the outside to become what God really wants to shape us into. She'll eventually get that down to where the wall will be only 1/8 of an inch thick. That's when we start on anticipating the quality.
So can you do that?
I make snakes and ashtrays. We all work together in different things, but it's not only the crafts, although all the people that have been raised here know all of these things. They can all do them on various levels. But we have, like I say, we build homes for people. We have a lot of service-related things. We've got also, some people that, pharmacists, things like that too. But this is really, things like this is where our heart is. It does something to you to be able to make things. In the book of Exodus, you read, Israel had been in Egypt for 430 years, and for probably the last 100 years or so, they've been factory assembly line workers. They've been making bricks for Pharaoh out of mud, straw, and manure. They were not craftsmen. They were not skilled. They were slave labor. But when God brought them out, you read there, it's either in the 33rd or 35th chapter of Exodus, it talks about, it doesn't talk in terms of the people being artists and craftsmen that were going to weave the tapestry that separated the holiest of holies from the inner chamber, or carved and overlaid the Ark of the Covenant and the cherubim and everything with gold and did all that. Instead, because these people were all slave laborers, but it says as many as had a willing heart, God gave them the ability to do this and do that, make the silver candlesticks and such. And that's really what we've discovered. I mean, a lot of us in the first generation of the community we consider ourselves to be refugees from the industrial culture and couldn't do any of these things. But as people set their hearts to it, they've become very adept at what they're doing. We're the first, we won't be going into the wood shop, the other group did, but we're the first craftsmen in almost 100 years to have furniture accepted into the permanent collection of the White House in Washington. And these are kids that were just taught in our place. And it's really amazing in that sense what the Lord's done. And I'll tell you, some of these skills, we're very much into gardening. We try to grow all of our own food. A lot of these skills, I'll tell you, they might come in real handy in the future. I think people are beginning to recognize that things might not be as stable out there as they once appeared. And it's good to be able to rely on yourself and your neighbors and friends instead of some gargantuan system that you have no control over. Boy, there it is. Out of a lump of clay.
Take that extra clay off. It helps to support the walls during the pulling and shaping, so that when I finish with that I can just take it off. There's one more thing to it here to make it smooth.
Did you tell them where that clay was from?
No, this is a native Texas clay.
Out in East Texas.
It's mined up all over East Texas and processed at a plant in Marshall, and we buy it from Marshall.
We have a place up in the northwest that we're just trying to settle as another community. And we didn't know it when we first found the place, but underneath it is what is called the Helmer clay deposit, which is known all over the world in pottery circles as being some of the finest clay that you can get. So we're pretty excited about being able to get some of that for ourselves.
We have all the resources there on the place in Idaho to have a completely self-sustaining pottery shop. There's everything we need right there.
What here is completely self-sustaining? You've got to do here. You don't have to go to a place right north to get.
We of course, our agriculture, because we do everything organically, there's no artificial fertilizers, no artificial pesticides, and we do all of our field work with horses, so we can grow our own gasoline in that sense, and we get baby tractors over spring, and we have all the elements here where we could do that, but we started out kind of out of phase with that, like, we depend here on electricity and such. But everything in what we're doing up there is going to be off grid.
Hold on, we're still in there won't be any electricity.
Right.
Right.
Unless we can do it ourselves. There you go. And that'll be fired now. And if she's made a mistake, it may look real nice, but if she did not compress the clay correctly, if she left any impurities in it, she'll find out when it goes through the fire, because the fire produces tremendous stress on the clay, It's going to shrink, what, 12 to 14% or
About
something?
12%.
It's gonna go up to like Nebuchadnezzar's furnace. I mean, this thing gets hot. It just glows red hot. And if there's something like that, even though it may look good and look like it's gonna be very useful, if she has missed a step there, when it goes through the fire, it'll blow apart and not only ruin that pot, but all the pots next to it too. So it does make a difference. But